Developed by Kojima Productions and published by Sony Interactive, originally released for the Sony PlayStation 4 in 2019, was that of Death Stranding. The game focused on that of the main character being Sam Porter Bridges, as he was that of a deliveryman tasked with delivering various supplies as well as other related items to isolated locations as well as regions to reconnect them with a vast communications network across the former United States of America devastated by a worldwide near-extinction event. The game was notable at the time as it was the first real project that legendary video game designer as well as developer Hideo Kojima had since his then disastrous leaving from Konami. Kojima wrote the screenplay for Death Stranding mostly on his own, and as a result, when the game was released, it polarized the video game community over the premise or concept of the writing to depict the characters for Death Stranding. At the time, critics agreed that various aspects depicted within the game, as well as the entire concept of the Death Stranding, were all highly original, but what divided people who had experienced the game were the details for the explanations of the characters. Just who exactly was Sam Bridges? A popular theory of the time had it that due to the writing of the game, some gamers couldn't really or necessarily understand the premise for Sam Bridges in the game, and a good amount of players assumed that Norman Reedus, the actor who portrayed Sam Bridges in Death Stranding, was simply acting as himself. Prior to the release of Death Stranding, Hideo Kojima kept details of Death Stranding intentionally vague to avoid leaks relating to the details of the game from being released, but as a consequence of his secrecy, those involved with the gaming project didn't exactly or even fully know what they were working on until the game was published. Norman Reedus, as well as other actors and actresses associated with the game's development, didn't exactly have a clear scoop as to what they were doing, and as a result, popular consensus had it that the actors and actresses played or portrayed themselves rather than a predisposed or original character for the game. Comparisons from Norman Reedus as depicted in Death Stranding to his other portrayals with different forms of media didn't necessarily have much difference when in comparisons, as well as discussions had it that the depictions in Death Stranding was viewed as a wasted talent or unrealized potential, which might have been accidentally done by Hideo Kojima writing a major non-Metal Gear Solid themed game for the first time in years. The concept of who Sam Bridges was and what he had to do was vague enough to keep players interested or know enough to let the players comprehend what needed to be done within the game. But nearly all agreed that the implementation of the game for the actors and actresses associated with the project that was later known as Death Stranding was either accepted fully by gamers or rejected absolutely by gamers experiencing the game's story. A character can be overrated yet hated due to the explanation of the character not necessarily being understood by a potential audience.